Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Superb Diamond Range. Um, Today's date is the 4th of November 2013, and this episode is going to be about councils and welfare. Over to you, Diamond, to start off with.
Thank you very much, Superb, and welcome, guests. Um, Councils. Are they the people that are supposed to help us? Well, in general, they are, and in some cases, they do. Especially for people with a lower income. They may need a house to live. They may need to save some money to buy a house. So the councils are there really to support people of a lower sort of bracket of income. And things have changed over the years, where councils have been exposed to being just another corporate company making money out of poor people. Okay,
Totally.
what'd you say on that, Superb?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, they, like you said, they come across as very friendly, that they're there to help you, and that, but also they don't seem to trust the people either. They always seem to make you prove yourself to them. You know, they're very incompetent. They send a lot of letters out that are sent in error, and they try to blame computer systems, but I actually think it could be the staff and the people behind it. Um, they're definitely very sneaky.
Well said. Because councils even have an office in court as well, where they have their own room. So when people are taken to court, the average man or woman thinks they're taken in front of a judge. They're actually in front of someone that works for the council, pretending to be a judge.
Yeah,
No
well,
word of a lie. No word of a lie. You can even check it out yourself.
yeah, that's right. That's for matters like council tax and things where they put the wig on and yeah, like you say, they get their room hired and
That's
it's
right.
a complete setup job.
So that's another sort of excuse I have for courts now. I do not like courts, and it backs up my theory that no man should really judge another man. So court is no place for me or you, and for
Sure.
the and for honest human beings that want to live a good, decent life. If you've summoned to court, think again, because you do not know who's actually the one who's in front of you, pretending or playing to be a judge.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, because you know, a lot of councils, um, they're very they like to charge you for different things like parking. They call it you parked illegally, and they send you out a bill or charge.
That's
PCN, whatever you call it. It's just like ridiculous,
that's true.
and
That's
they're like bullies as well. You know, they
of course.
they
So
don't really work for the people. They sort of work against us, really.
that's very true. So shall we tackle the sort of accommodation where people, when a lot of people came to the UK, they were sort of, especially the Irish, were here in the 1950s, 40s, and after the Second World War, say. And the council wasn't so big then, and back then people were having to get private accommodation, and coming from a foreign country, it was very hard because the Irish were not so welcomed in England
That's right. Yeah,
as the as the Caribbean people were. So that part of the history there. That's why the Caribbean community and the Irish community are very, very close.
definitely. Because I remember hearing a story from one of my dad's Irish friends, and he actually admitted just to get on the council list, he decided to take on British citizenship because he thought that that would give him a better chance at getting a council place. So he was sort of willing to trade in like his citizenship,
Yeah,
which
sure.
just for that one, just to sort of boost his chances of getting a place to live, because everyone knew at the time that it was a lot cheaper to live in council accommodation, especially back then compared to now.
Of
Then
course.
obviously private landlords that some of them even back then it's probably worse now, but a lot of them were sort of taking a lot of you know, piss out of them, you know.
Yeah, I would imagine back then also, Superb, there was not a long waiting list. Like if someone was to put their name on the waiting list for a council accommodation, we're talking 20 years. They
Yeah.
might maybe a letter to say, oh, there's a place ready for you. By then, that person is dead.
And then you've got that the old system, like the point system they had. It used to be like a matter of time before you got a place, but you would probably get one at the end. But now it's like, I mean, I don't know if it's changed since, but they had like a system where they put you into different brackets. So you got like, I think it's something like A, B, C, and D, and you know, obviously, if you didn't sort of qualify for a certain bracket, you know, you bid for properties that you liked that were near you or you wanted to live in,
That's
and
true.
other people that might have more children or you know would get more priority. Obviously, disabled people, which is fair enough, they would get priority. But most people that um, you know never quite um, made the top two or three brackets. You know, bidding's like a waste of time. It's like they tell you that you can bid, but yet you've really got no chance. It's like a lottery. You know, it's really tough to get a place, and um, you know it's unfair on people that you know sort of people that are single that you know probably don't have children yet but plan to, but yet they'll never get a chance to move into a cheaper accommodation. You know,
It's because it could be the case where you're single, no children, but you're still ambitious.
definitely.
You have every right as someone who has a family and to save some money to get up on that ladder because originally the council accommodations were meant for people to stay there as a stepping stone.
And I
And
mean, we've talked about this before, Diamond, but we've mentioned about there's certain things that we all should have a right to, and obviously one of them is a home. So you know, everybody should have a house of some kind for free, and
def-
none of us should be paying mortgages or rent to the council. But you know, that's and food as well. We should be getting food for free. You know,
Definitely, because that is a right. We to survive on this planet, we need somewhere to sleep. Like a roof over our head. We need food, and the way the world is, with all this electricity and power and currents, we need hot water as well.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. Free energy. That's you just said it. Free energy. That's the
Energy,
other one.
yes. The
Yeah,
energy supply.
yeah.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mind, out of my mouth. Sorry, must be too early for me.
Because the you know the energy companies are just ridiculous. Like the amount they charge, they always make a massive profit, and then they put the prices up, and you know it never seems to go down, and they sort of give you the illusion of like, you know, you should change to this supplier, change to that one, but they're all probably one supplier. You know,
You're right. They
yeah,
they they also give you the illusion also that they are the ones giving you the energy, as if they're tapping that energy and giving it to you. But all they actually do is use the equipment, which will supply the equipment, what goes into your home.
that's right. Yeah,
And the same with the water as well. They will try and make us believe like they control the clouds. Trying to say, water's expensive. Water's always been the same.
exactly. And we own all the resources and all the land as
Of
well, but
course,
they're charging us for it.
you know,
You
we,
know,
we're children of God. So God gave us everything what is natural, like the water comes down. So, as I've said before, if there was a way to control the fresh air, these people would definitely harness the fresh air, as you've probably seen in some movies,
totally.
and they would definitely charge us for it because I believe governments, monarchy, the Vatican, all in together are as evil as they come.
Completely, completely. Yeah, because I mean that's another thing that I was going to bring up about the a lot of council tenants. They get stuck with the prepaid meter, which, as you mentioned to me before, is like three times the price most people pay.
It is
And
really sad
yeah,
because these, especially some of the family that may not be working, and this is how it normally goes there in the UK. I think people get billed quarterly.
that's
I know
right.
people have a choice to pay the bills, or they can pay either monthly or quarterly. But I think most people prefer to pay either cash or by check or direct debit, and or standing order. And believe me, it's not really that expensive compared to people that use the prepaid meter.
Definitely, yeah. It's a complete scam.
So
It just runs out really quickly, doesn't it? And you've got to keep topping it up all the time.
because someone of a poor family, in most cases, will not be able to, sorry to say, save that money every 3 months or 4 months to pay maybe £150 or £200 for the bill. So they're in their interest. They've been tricked into paying maybe £10, £15 every week,
That's right.
prepaid on the card or key.
Because another problem with the bill as opposed to the prepay is obviously people on low incomes. The energy company talks them into signing up for a direct debit, and obviously sometimes they take more than they should, or they don't write to you, and you can
That's
end up overdrawn, and then you got all these fictional bank charges that appear in your account and throw you completely overdrawn and in debt, and that's the way they like it. So
that's right.
anybody that's got a direct debit out there, personally, I don't use direct debit. I would recommend you don't. It's a way for the banks to make money. It's better to set up your own standing order, or go and stand in the post office in the queue and pay it there. It's
That's the best thing.
yeah,
Standing
it's a
order.
money maker. Direct debit's a money maker for the banks.
Because that's the thing. When you have a direct debit, people think it can be a lazy option, but also it's, think of it as there's so many people with their hands in your pocket.
That's right. You've given them the keys to your bank account
That's
basically,
right.
so they can take what they want, and even though you don't own your own bank account, but that's another subject for another time.
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
but yeah, Diamond, I was going to talk to you about like experiences in your life of sort of like falling behind on rent, because I mean that's happened to me as well, different times in my life. But how do you feel that the council treat you whenever you go into arrears?
They treat you terribly, to be honest. Um, it happened to me, to be honest, early 1990s, where I was behind, had some problems in my life at the time, but I gave what I could, but still, they took me to court, which wasn't a good thing. And by the time I came to court, we had a settlement where I would pay X amount every month, but I actually paid the full amount, got it out of the way because I just wanted to get on with my life and close that chapter.
Brilliant.
During that time, I had some serious problems with family. I think my mother was sick at the time, but
Well, I knew somebody that lived in a council estate, and he was working part time, and you know he wasn't really good with his finances. He sort of didn't really manage his money too well, because he probably thought that he was earning more than he was, and he used to keep falling behind on council tax. Every other bill he probably managed to pay, but for some reason the council tax, he used to keep missing paying that, and he used to have like debt collectors come to his door 5 in the morning, 7 in the morning, basically banging on his door. And because he was so embarrassed, because he didn't want his neighbours to know that he was behind, he used to let them into his flat. And unfortunately he didn't have really expensive possessions, so he didn't have like, well, actually it's a good thing that he didn't, because otherwise they would have taken it. But they literally said that he had nothing of value that they could take, So in the end, he would pay their charge, the debt collector, which was like 150 for the call out, and then any arrears he'd have to pay that back as well. And he really believed in their threats and was scared of them, So basically, used to get very stressed about it, and you know,
That's,
um,
it's
but
quite
unfortunately, he couldn't get out of his situation. And sorry to say, but he probably is still in that situation now because he wasn't able to find another job to increase his income. He probably didn't come to a good arrangement to sort himself out. It's a real shame. I
it
tried to
is.
help him, but he didn't really
It's
want my help, to be honest.
it's a sad story, but so prevalent, so true with many people. Especially, we live in an age where in the West, people are just handed out credit cards and spend as much as you like and pay later.
That's
And
right.
so,
Yeah.
a lot of people are living in are deluded.
And I mean, a lot of them have got obviously. Some of them have got bad credit, and now they're sort of turning to these payday loans with these 200% interest and things like that. And they're probably thinking at the beginning, "Oh, this is easy. I just need to pay them back next week or whatever." And that something comes up, an emergency, and they don't, and then all of a sudden, a small amount becomes a massive fictional amount that they believe they have to pay, and it's like a lot of stress, a lot of strain on your family, your relationships.
Of
You
course.
know, it's really, really bad. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention was about people in receipt of housing benefit. Sometimes, whenever they're receiving it, there'll be a time when they come off it. Maybe they find a new job or something. And I've heard a lot of stories of kind of like a few months after signing off the housing benefit, where they would get like threatening letters, basically demanding repayment. And this has happened to quite a few people I know.
Of
And normally,
course.
when they check their records, they realise that actually it's lies and that they're just trying their luck to get money off you, but you don't actually owe them, and they try to make out you do. And it's just a way to kind of like steal from you, basically, because they
Of
give it
course.
to you, then they try and take it back. You
Of
know,
course. Well, they're seen as legalized criminals too.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people on these benefits, when they would, they're living in council accommodation, so they would find work, and all of a sudden, all the benefits will be stopped.
That's
And
right.
in most cases, a lot of these people who do find work, they're not paid, that well. So, they're actually in a worse position working.
That's right. Yeah, for
You
their
know,
expenses that they've got and things like that. Yeah.
so like you said, as before, it would be fairer to see that everyone was given a house for free, because it sounds crazy, and I know a lot of viewers will say, "Yeah, well, what are they talking about?" But if you were to go into a lot of countries in the world, especially the Middle East, places like Libya, you'd be talking people above the age of 21 given a house,
That's right. Yeah.
free education. You've been talking the most stressful thing in your life, which is accommodation, should not be there for anybody. Everyone has the right to live freely and securely and feel safe.
Definitely.
But we've been tricked that the land belongs to the monarchy, and other corporations have tricked you that the planet Earth isn't your home, that you have to pay someone to live there. It absolutely makes me sick, to be honest. That people are under the illusion that I have to buy bricks, and it's going to take I have to, and it's going to take me all my life. So they call it mortgage, which means till death.
Yep. Death pledge. Yeah.
Death pledge.
That's right. Yeah, and I mean, it's just a racket. The whole combination of council, banks, government, they're all part of the same mafia. They're, just extorting the people.
Definitely, definitely.
Again, it's that thing where they sort of trick the people, make them feel like they're working for them, but actually they're working for profit. And they work for corporations. They don't really they don't care about the man on the street, or
Not at all.
families.
The council tax, another thing, what you sort of mentioned earlier, but the council tax has been around for quite a while also. Before it was called the poll tax, and it was stopped, and now they've just changed the name to council tax.
That's right.
And there was a mini revolution when people refused to pay, and I was one of them too. Where we
Brilliant.
and the council tax, I think works. Correct me if I'm wrong, Superb. Um, on people living in the home, so does everyone have to pay?
Yeah, I think it's about like at least two adults. If two adults live in the household, I'm pretty sure there's like a set fee, and everyone else would not have to pay. But obviously, if you're a single occupant, you'd pay a discounted
That's right.
version, this kind of thing.
That's it. So I
Yeah,
think with the poll tax before was a bit different. That was where you can have uh, one set bill, and you can have say 6, 7 people living in the house, so they all split the bill.
that's
And
right.
the poll tax, you might have one old lady living in a house by herself, and she's paying the same as the next door neighbours who have 6 or 7 people in the house. So that was never fair.
There's another thing about council tax that I've always wondered about. It's like you get uh, properties that are different sizes, shapes and sizes, and when you first move in to any flat, they sort of give you a standard amount, and if you contact the council to ask if you're paying the right amount or they call it bands, like you have band A, band B, band C, but you could ask them to, you know, am I paying the right amount, or could I end up be paying less, or but they don't care. All they want is the money coming in every month, and they do it bit by bit so that you don't notice what they're doing. But really, they're not. I mean, I called up one time to ask about it, and they said, "Oh, you've got to look at 2 or 3 flats in your neighbourhood that are comparable, and see which band they're in, and then you'll know." So they were trying to get me to do the dirty work for them,
Yeah,
but I was just told them straight out, I don't work for free. So I put it back to them, but in the end, nothing came of it. So
right.
yeah, but yeah, they're tricksters, real
Of
real
course.
predatory thieves. Like,
Well, they sort of work on our sort of minds that we do not know what is going on. So us consenting to do things is more than enough for them.
totally.
They lie to us, and we accept their claims, and that's it. They're happy as anything. So we need more people to understand that they're lying to us and not to accept their claims. So, more of us stand together, they will have to change things.
I mean, even like if you think about it, like if you live in a block, if you could get your whole block behind you, all together united, and then you could work on the rest of the street. It's not easy because you get different types of people. Some people are more, loving the system than you, but
Of course,
after a while, hopefully, more and more people will start losing things in the system, and they'll start to realize they never own nothing, and they
that's
were, as you would say, born with nothing, and
so. Going on to the types of accommodation where people, in council would live. And so, someone coming from America or New Zealand or anywhere, they would drive past the tower block, and they instantly may know that that is a council place where, like in America, they would call it the subjects,
yeah.
like cheap accommodation, and they would stick anyone there. You know, there's some great people, fantastic people living in, these council estates. But back in the day, a lot of people from the 60s, 70s were actually given houses, proper houses on proper streets. And so, as you probably know, if your neighbour is working, you might want to work. You'll feel encouraged. But if you're living in a place where everyone is the same, there's a lot of people unemployed, no doubt they're going to point the finger and say, "Oh, these guys are just no good."
Definitely.
You know,
And I
so
mean, you get a lot of people that sort of grew up um, in that they basically their parents might never have got a job or tried to look for work or do something, and then obviously they followed that as well, that path, and they
yeah,
might have lots of children just to try and get more money out. I mean, I'm not going to say from the government or from the state, because I know that the people pay the tax, so it's really from the people. But it's whether you believe that or not. I mean, some people will say that they are taking the money, but I don't really think that. I think that it's just a signature, and the money is created. But um, a lot of people, um, you know, will judge them, and there'll be people that work really hard and say, why aren't they working? Some of them do want to work, some of them not. But who are we to judge?
exactly,
Um, you
exactly.
know,
Well, you find with the media, especially with targets, criminality acts, and they would blame people from the states. If you look at the news, a lot of these drug dealers, they would try and target them and say they sell to people in local council estates. And
completely. And another thing that, like, a lot of people, I mean, we're all children of God and people of the world, but a lot of people in this country in particular, when you get like refugees coming over, like the native people that were born here, grew up here, so-called native, would believe that the refugees get much better treatment. They get, a house, they get a car, and there's a lot of resentment there.
that's very,
Um,
that's
but it's
very
definitely part of the plan of the elites to kind of, divide us.
well said,
You
because
know,
that causes a lot of racial tension, and
definitely,
it's very true what you said, because they is all planned to take to cause division again.
definitely.
Because these people have come from a war-torn country and want sanctuary, so they've come to the
And
UK.
I think another thing that a lot of people don't like as well is they don't integrate too much as well in within the neighbourhood.
That's very
They don't speak the language. Some of them don't learn the language. I don't think a lot of them make an effort to find work or try and volunteer in the community, help people out, or even their neighbour. But I think that's another thing that causes problems. And
definitely
um,
because you would say a lot of these people have come over with a different mindset, different mentality. So maybe the women are, would come over with children, and a woman, maybe from some of these places would not be expected to work, but they come to England where everyone is treated as equal. Where they're from, the man has the power, the man brings the money in, so it's total. It's a bit of a shock for them, maybe. But yeah, I see where the racial tension is coming from, especially when the refugees can be given cars and
that's right.
like a lot of expensive accommodation.
I mean, when they go to like government offices, they get translators for free.
Yeah,
If you went to any other country in Europe or even America, I'd say, or Canada, they would never let you. They'd expect you to speak the national language or pay for your own interpreter, but they would never provide you with one. So you'd go to like a job centre, say, and they would, what language do you speak? Okay, we'll arrange a translator or interpreter for you free of charge. And it's like they kind of roll the red carpet out in many ways for certain people coming over. But I mean, if you go to countries like America, you'd have to work hard. So the immigrants that go to America would have a different attitude because they realise that if we want to make it here, we've got to work really hard. Whereas on this island, the way that they operate is, I can actually relax a bit because maybe they'll take care of me and you get comfortable.
I
And yeah,
you're right, because I have heard many cases, many people. Uh, there is a bit of an argument, and where people say these people come here only for the benefits,
That's right.
which is not good. Hopefully they haven't done that, but that's one thing we can say what is positive about the council, because it has helped these refugees from around the world whose countries have been in war, in recent years. But for the local people, they resent that because they're saying, well, that accommodation could be for us.
Because I've
There's
also heard that they do it for the votes as well. They hope that, because I believe Commonwealth countries and European can vote in this island, and I think that um, you know that's a reason enough. So we'll treat them really good, and then hopefully they'll vote, even though it's all rigged anyway. But at least give them the belief that somebody cares for them, or
Yep, sure,
you know.
sure, that's fair points, and that's very true as well. It's very, very true.
And also, you remember we were gonna mention about the electoral roll, about because we're at the moment, both of us, we're not registered to vote because we don't believe in consenting to be governed, and
So,
we get a letter all the time, don't we, threatening us, saying
well,
that pay
but
1,000 fine for not.
that's right. The electoral roll also to do with the council, where they send you a letter every year to see who's living at the property, and it normally is addressed to the occupier.
That's right.
And my name is an occupier, so I send it back all the time.
Me too. Yeah.
And I
There's
have no,
nothing's going to change if you vote.
and for sure, I have no interest in voting it again in my life. I mean, I must admit, when I left school, I voted once, but that was a young man, getting into the world and not really knowing who he was at the time. But now I know who I am and where I'm going and who my friends are.
Definitely.
And for sure, these people in suits, who are the biggest criminals, mind you, the biggest criminals, who no one looks at. But that's one thing. What really, really gets my goat about the poor people who live in council estates, who seem to get the blame for everything, and also a lot of the native people who are not working, for some reason, people who are working are jealous of them.
Definitely.
They're jealous because they say they sit at home, they do no work. But can someone living in a council accommodation, who maybe most council accommodations are like prison camps anyway?
Definitely.
The tower blocks are like prison cells, and a lot of them not working. So can they actually go on holiday? Not really. Can they live their dream? They might afford the basic things like food, maybe some cigarettes, drink every now and again.
Yeah.
But
KFC or.
KFC, and what really gets me is to hear people complaining and moaning, saying they're supporting them, as if
Yeah.
they know where the treasury money goes.
Exactly. And I mean, another thing is, I was going to say, like, the people that are doing it, um, a lot of it could be that, they had a job, they've been working hard for a long time, and they're a bit unlucky, they got framed at work, or they got made redundant or sacked, and it's like they've got to deal with every 2 weeks going to a job centre, and job centres, well, Diamond, what they're like. They're what you can tell us what you think.
Yeah, job centres are horrible places to be in. The vibration, not good. You're there, you're made to feel like a scrounger, like a criminal, as if you've got to account for every second of your time while you're not working. So, in my case, when I was not working many years ago, um, I had to write a list of what I was doing to look for work, and you had to do so many. You had to go for so many interviews, and for sure, people who are not working will be forced to take work what they would never sort of dream of doing, and it would be something like a job where most people wouldn't do. Like maybe it could be a bailiff or a clamper, clamping cars. You know, a job what will go against their conscience.
Definitely, but they're forced to do it
But they're
because
forced to do it, otherwise they're threatened. Their benefits
will be
will be
cut.
taken away from them.
Yeah, sanctioned.
So, you know, it's like they're held to ransom.
Well, I had a friend and he'd been looking for a job for over 6 months, and I think he'd been receiving benefits while he was looking for work, and they called him in for an interview at his job centre, and he brought a passport in as ID, and he handed it to the guy in the office, and the guy, he thought, well, this is just to confirm, my name, my date of birth, that my picture. And basically, the guy, the officer in the room, started going through the pages of his passport,
Yeah,
and yeah, basically, the guy had gone on a travel around South America with some friends,
yeah,
and it was back in 2012, but I think this was in 2013, and
right.
the guy was writing in his notes that you'd been travelling while you were on benefits, and because he thought it was this year, like, in 2013, and he sort of told the guy that no, this was not when I was on this was last year,
So,
and he said to the guy, like, what are you doing looking at that? Why are you looking through these pages? I didn't give you any permission. But yeah, the guy was trying to, you know, be special and catch
be,
people out basically.
be a job's worth,
Yeah,
so he can get a bonus.
definitely,
You know, if you actually read a passport, it will say at the front that this document is for customs only.
definitely.
And, you know, these people who work in these places are not customs officers.
That's right.
You know, so they look at the name and the picture, and that's as far as it goes, and give
And
it back.
and like that friend, he got the man asked him, like, he looked at the picture in the passport and he asked him, "Is that really you?" And the guy said, "No. How can that be me? How can a picture be I?" And it's just ridiculous questions. Like an ID represents you. You know,
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and it's not a good system, and to put up with all that shit, to be insulted. It's like, you know, when you go on holiday as well. You know, it's like you're going through a torrid time. Also,
definitely.
taking your shoes off, and in some cases your belts off, and it's like they want to search. You know, they give you a search around, pat you around your legs, and you know, you have some paedophile people that want to touch your balls. And you know, I had that experience a few times.
That's one of the reasons why I despise going to the airport. I mean, I like the end result of traveling,
Yes,
arriving in the new country, but the actual, like, treadmill and factory they put you through,
and
um, the way you're treated,
exactly, and certain people get treated, you know, more sort of roughly than others.
definitely.
I guess, but that's for another debate, another talk.
I wanted to go in a bit about the odd parking tickets and about the types of people they employ to do the dirty work for the council.
Yes.
I
Well,
mean,
like we said before, the parking situation is council, and also in some cases private. But wherever you go in London, wherever you park, you got to pay.
that's right.
Period. There is no free parking anywhere. So you drive your car out of your driveway, and wherever you stop, you got to be quick or be prepared to get your checkbook out.
Because I had a friend that he worked for a courier, and I believe he was just delivering a parcel to a block of flats, and he parked on, I don't know if it was double yellow or single yellow, but he literally went out of his van for like 5 minutes, and he came out, and a private company had been watching him, and they basically clamped the work van that he was using,
And
and
it's
he went to his office to explain to his workplace to explain what had happened, and his workplace basically told him that he needs to pay the to get the clamp removed himself, and he was saying, well, it's £300, and obviously he has to do it quickly or else it will keep going
goes
up.
goes up for
Yeah,
sure.
and basically the company, he explained to the company that he didn't have the money in his account to pay it because he was a bit short of cash, and the manager basically advised him to take some money out of his bank account, in the branch, and then go outside and take cash from with the card. So basically, he went unauthorized overdrawn just
Yeah,
to save his job, and I think he contacted like the union afterwards, tried to see if they would help him, but they weren't interested. They didn't help him at all. And
it
he
was
after that he refused to do overtime because he was basically doing overtime that day, helping them out as a favour, and they didn't want to. They got plenty of money. This company, not going to mention names, but basically they should have helped him out. But yeah,
uh,
he's never done overtime since.
for sure. I mean, that is really, really bad advice what he was given.
Totally,
I mean, that makes me sick. Actually, people go to work, and he's got to pay what, a week's salary in one day, or more than a week's salary.
definitely.
You know,
And
so
fines, he would have got charged by the bank a lot as well.
and that's the thing,
So
Super. And that's the thing. Um, People are parking their cars in these places, and in most cases, they're not blocking anyone. They're not causing any sort of hindrance to any oncoming cars behind them. They're out of the way, and they're treated as criminals.
completely.
There was no victim. There's no victim. So why would they? If you look at their wording, they will say that it's a criminal offence what you've done by parking there. So that we go on to common law and statutes and acts, and you know councils do not respect common law,
That's right.
the common
Yeah,
man. They're all with the banks. Statutes and acts are all parliament, all bankers' laws, insurers. You know,
definitely.
they just go up and up every day. There are thousands of acts and statutes.
Because I used to say, like, I hadn't driven for a long time, and I hired a car and went into some town centres or city centres, and I couldn't believe I'd forgotten how many signs there are telling you what to do. I mean, I've heard it's much worse in America, but over here it's getting pretty bad now, and they're literally everywhere,
That's right.
and it's confusing. It's deliberate though; it's all designed.
One thing, you get stopped by a policeman or any of these people, policemen on bikes now, because the policeman on a bike now is cycling around. He's not there as a peacemaker now. He's there as someone who's looking to give you a fine. So he'll say to you, "Look, didn't you see that sign?" I'll say, "I didn't walk around looking at signs.
That's right.
It's not your job." You know, from the time you're in the fresh air, you're outside, you're in God's house. I'm not in your house.
Exactly.
And if you want to put a sign anywhere, it's up to you. I can say to you, did you read that newspaper? It's in the shop. Why should I read the sign? What's that standing over there? Couldn't give a shit.
And I
But
mean, another thing as well to realise is that the roads are owned by us, the public. So basically they're charging us to use our roads.
exactly.
It's ridiculous.
How,
They've turned the tables on us completely.
big time, how are we supposed to travel from A to B? Do they expect us to fly? But then, I, you know, they'll probably shoot us down because they say they own the air, don't they?
And the other one that I just thought about now is the yellow box. The one that they put in the middle,
Yeah,
and sometimes you can be unlucky, and somebody will stop in front of you. It will look like the road's clear, and they'll just stop in the middle of it, and then you end up getting, the camera takes a picture of you, and
Yeah.
You know, people will say, "Oh, you need to be more careful," but the thing about it is, why are they charging us? You know, why are they why are they make calling it a crime? You know, again, no one's been killed, no one's been injured,
And a
but
lot of these times, you may stop in the yellow box, and the yellow box is to show that is the gap that gives other cars that are turning give them way. And there may not be cars coming that direction, but still, you get the letter through the post. Cha-ching! So DVLA, which is the main motor car sort of
agency.
agency, will sell and happily give away your details for the car, what you have registered, so they can fine you.
That's right.
So there's no sort of secrecy, there's no sort of privacy, you know. So they go straight to DVLA. Okay, yeah, happily, yeah, it's that man there, Mr. Roger Schoon. Okay, you will £50 fine there for that car he's been driving, and
Because everybody, you know, when they're growing up, you know, they finish school and they're really excited about, you know, learning how to drive and passing the driving test to get a license. But they don't realise that when you get the license, when you register, you know, basically what you're doing is you're a sitting duck for them. You know, they're just going to target you, make as much money out of you as they can, just because you've agreed to their rules of, you know, that agency, DVLA.
well said.
And I'd like to do an episode on DVLA down the line as well, Dime. I don't know if you'd be up for that.
Sure, sure. Well, you know, this is our show, Superb, and this is the people's show. So, also, if any listeners out there would like a topic, feel free to email us.
Definitely. Anything else, Des, you'd like to add? Any final thoughts?
Well, going back to councils, you know, councils seem to have their hand in everything. So, growing up, you think council is only about housing, but actually, you know, council is pretty up there when it comes to how the country is being run.
Definitely.
And you know, they're gangsters as far as I'm concerned.
Completely.
Yeah, they're gangsters, and
There's a lot of fraud in it as well. We haven't really even touched on all the kinds of frauds that they've been doing on the people, and you know,
when the banks crashed 5 years ago, and the council had their own offshore account where they stashed the money, and they were caught.
that's right.
So the council, as you said before, have been stealing our money for years.
Definitely. I mean, one thing we should add about the council tax is that I've heard figures. I don't know exactly, but I know that quite a large portion of it goes to fund the wars, the illegal wars that are going on. So
That's very true.
you know, a lot of people think that it's for collecting your rubbish. I've heard some people say it's for the fireman, for the police, but a lot of it is just myths. And you know, if you do a data information request, they'll never tell you really what it's for. They'll always make things up. So yeah, you can never, you know, they'll never tell you the truth, and you know, be wary of them, and you know.
But there is a saying, you know, if you really, really want to find the truth and you're willing to do your homework, you will get the right answers. I promise you.
Definitely.
And you know, Superb and myself, you know, we've done our research and homework. We help each other out. We've gone to meetings. We've read books, and the council for sure against us. You know, they're out there to make money.
Definitely.
Same with government too.
Yep. All one. All one. Yeah.
So we just want to sort of wrap it up and.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, I'll just give our listeners our details if they'd like to contact us and leave feedback or suggest topics. Yeah, our email address is superbdiamondrange@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter. You can follow us at the Twitter name is SuperbRA or SuperbRA. You can also we'd also appreciate if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we're also available on iTunes now, so you can find us through iTunes under Superb Diamond Range Podcast. Thanks again for listening, and hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you very much. And just remember, there's a better way of life for everyone.
Definitely.
Just be willing to be the change you want to see, and peace be with you all.
Peace be with you all. Thanks.